Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It is my absolute joy and pleasure to partner with Readytex Art Gallery and Monique and the staff here. We have been working together for over 20-something years. And I see my friend Ronaldo and Sunil and artists that I have worked with in the International Cultural Exchange. But today belongs to Clara Toro. And I just want to bring the context in. We're in October. We have been Diaspora by Cultural Arts Incubator, and let me introduce myself. I am Rosie Gordon-Wallace, the President and Curator of Diaspora by Cultural Arts Incubator. We have an exchange program, an artist in residence program. Under the radar, very simple. Our commitment is to keep sending artists that live in Miami, Florida, to Suriname to enjoy and experience the 26 plus cultures that you enjoy and live in harmony with in Suriname. So the challenge is, what will they do when they come? Who is it that they're going to interact with while they're here? I'm filling in as everybody gets settled. So, since January, we have sent 9 artists in 2025 to Readytex Art Gallery. And the host of these artists is Kurt Nahar and his wife Paula and their 2 boys. The residency lives on top of Kurt's court. I call him Harry because the court was too hard to say, but I'm going to say it now. Kurt's residency lives on the top of Harry's atelier, and the artists have one mandate to come to Suriname to expose their practice to the culture here. They're not required to create any work. They are required to interact with the arts community here. And Monique has been more than gracious. She's a true partner in offering this opportunity for the artists to give a talk. So I welcome you to the talk, but more importantly, I am grateful to be here and to introduce to you Clara Toro. So let me tell you a little bit about Clara. I'm going to tell you stuff that you can't read on the internet. Because you said, right? You can read on the internet. But I'll start formally. Clara is a Colombian American photographer and formerly had a student, just left her student at the Bakehouse Art Complex. Why is this important? I started at the Bakehouse Art Complex in 1996. Probably before my name were born, not really, right? Not really. and so we have this in common, this multiplex art complex in Miami, housing over 60 artists. Clara had her studio there along with Musla, Delisford, who you met. Musla was here 2 months ago. No, last month.
Last month.
What am I talking about? She was here last month. So you're getting the context and the continuity. This is our 3rd year of sending artists to Suriname. 3rd or 4th year? 3rd year of sending artists to Suriname. I'm not bringing you a photographer who's an ordinary photographer. Let me tell you a little bit about her life. She has done work with Univision television in Miami. She has just completed, I'm coming off script, she has just completed an amazing project, Voices
of Miami.
Voices
Of Miami.
Voices of Miami. This is a project done at the Freedom Tower. The Freedom Tower in Miami is our Ellis Island compared to New York, where Cubans came in the 60s and they were housed there and set out on their way to America. Hospitality. This is the 60s, American hospitality, and given benefits so that they could start their lives. The 60s. They've come a long way in 2025. So the Freedom Tower, Clara did over 800 portraits, and the exhibition opened or is opening this week, I think, or opened last week, but we had many previews. it is amazing. If you come to Miami, you must go to Miami-Dade College's exhibition. Amy Gatlin is the curator, and Clara was hired to go around Miami to the neighborhoods and document Cubans and Miami. I am fortunate to have been one of her subjects, and I gave her plenty trouble. They don't want any wrinkles, and they don't want my cheek to show, you know the works. So I digress a little bit, but that project just happened, and it is really monumental to her practice and work. She's participated in many group exhibitions. I started working with Clara about 5 years now. She's traveled with us to Panama on our international cultural exchange, and we have shown her in the world, the whole world is journey. And she will be featured again in the exhibition opening for Art Basel called What's in Your Container? It's a provocative prompt asking you what is in your container, and we'll have a group show with it actually. She's a winner of the 2022 Ellis Creator Award for her project 8 Minutes, so she also does video and film. She has been, if I went to the award, we would be here for a long time. She's had an illustrious career. Her academic training is, she has a master's from the Center for Photography and a degree from Cota España master's program. Folks, we don't bring you ordinary artists. We bring you artists that are on a path from emerging to mid-career to master. And I will give you my last note. It is my greatest desire and wish to have one of these artists become a macarthur genius fellow. And then I can go to Jesus. Again, I can pass it but I tell you, it is my absolute joy to introduce my friend, Clara Toro, to you as she takes you on a journey, on her photo journey this morning. Thank you to the team at Readytex. You're always so welcoming to us, and I look forward to hearing this presentation as well. Big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you can you hear me? Yes? Yeah, I don't speak very loud, so if you can hear me, let me know. But I oh, yes? Okay. So as Rosie said, I am a first Colombian photographer, which matters a lot for my practice. I was born in Medellin, and I lived there until I graduated from college. I am an industrial designer, and I wanted to be a photographer, but back in, 40 years ago, my parents didn't think that that was such a great idea. So life happened, and I moved on to the States, and finally, about 10 years ago, I decided that it was time for me to go back to my dream, which was to be a documentary photographer. So I decided to go back to school. I do have to graduate. I went to a graduate program in New York at the International Center of Photography, and I went to another graduate program in Spain called Foto España to be trained in the craft of being a documentary photographer. And I opened the portraits because Rosie was talking about portraits, but the reality is that I want to start with Colombia because it is where I began this idea of documenting the lives of people. So the first round of photos that I will show you are photos that I took in small towns near my hometown, which is Medellin in Colombia. And I decided to take those photos because I felt that it was very important for me to keep memories and a registry of the important things that I grew up with. And I began to photograph all the little things all the things that were important for me in terms of the memories and how I wanted to remember the place where I grew up. So all across the presentation, you will see that there won't be anything dramatic or a very strong statement, but rather photos of simple lives. Because I guess if I were to define my project in one sentence, I feel that lives well lived are worth documenting and talk about. So, and also coming from Colombia, where I'm told to talk about all the sadness and the grief and the terrible things that have happened there, I made a conscious decision about also documenting the good things that regular people like me have done for the country. So when people tell me, why don't you talk about the drugs and about the terrible things that have happened, I just choose to show simple things that are significant, and a lot of it has to do with the nostalgia that I feel when I go to these hometowns and I remember what I grew up like. So this is a statue of Bolivar somewhere in a small town. So this is how I began my practice, taking photos of things that were meaningful to me and that I felt were representative of my culture. Of course, a lot of religious iconography and things that I found. I actually like this photo a lot because, and this is true, the farmers on Sundays go to the small town and they drink a lot of aguardiente and they get drunk. And it really is true, they leave their horses there, and then when it's time to go home, they kind of hop on those horses however they can, and the horses bring them back home. And it is the truth. The horses. So this is really representative of that culture, and a little bit of the architecture. Again, very simple things, but that connect me with how I grew up. This guy is selling caramels on the street, and when I was growing up, I always wanted to go out and buy those caramels from the guy on the street. So this is how it all began. Always, I guess on a side note, always asking permission and always trying to have a conversation with the people I photograph. I don't even want to use the word subjects because I don't think it's a nice word, but I always try to interact, even if it's for a few moments, with the people I photograph, and I always ask for permission. So after photographing Colombia, every time I went back, I went back to Miami, and then the pandemic happened, and I was very sad because I felt very detached from the world, like probably most of you felt, and I decided that I was going to go with my camera to find a neighborhood in Miami that was close to my roots and who I was. I just felt that I needed to connect somehow. And I decided to start walking around a neighborhood called Wynwood that is really similar to the place where I grew up. And everybody was inside, but the windows were open. So I had a great time listening to the moms yelling at the kids, the way I grew up, and smelling the chicken soup and the rice and beans and listening to the salsa music. It was my way to reconnecting with my roots when I was trapped in the States during the pandemic. And so for this first project, I didn't get the chance to, let me see if I can, I'm trying to move this, but I don't see it. Let me go back. Let me go back home. And Wynwood, stories. So at first I couldn't photograph people because I wasn't allowed. So I took photos of the facades, and that's all I did. But as the world opened up again, I figured it would be nice for me to interview the elderly people that were about to sell their homes and that were moving away, just so we will have an archival project of the stories of the people from the neighborhood. Most of them coming from Honduras, Puerto Rico, Cuba, the Caribbean diaspora. So what I will do is go to their homes, photograph them, interview them with my phone, make a video, and tell the stories of them. Some of them are no longer with us. She she's still with us, but she doesn't remember me anymore. And he was the very first person I photographed, and he's no longer with us. But something great that happened about that story is that I went to his house. I photographed the meaningful art. I mean, the last super thing, photo that they have, and then when he was gone, his son came to my studio and said, "Clara, can I have the recordings and the photos of my home? Because my father is no longer there, the house doesn't exist anymore, and we don't have anything." So I was able to give him everything that I had done, and now his family holds a piece of the memory of the way he grew up in Miami. So I did a lot of this I did it for about a year and a half. This was my graduate program for New York. And then I decided that I was going to continue with another neighborhood. And this was my project for Foto España. So again, I was photographing a neighborhood that is about to disappear. What's happening in Miami, you might know about this, is that the coastal areas were the places that were very expensive because everybody wanted to be near the ocean. So the inland was the inexpensive part of land that people with less resources used to buy. But now the coastal areas are getting flooded, and all the investors want to buy the inland. So they are going into these neighborhoods that have been traditional for people from the Caribbean, that they have been there for 50, 60 years, and they're buying their piece of land. But what happens is that even though they might get the right amount of money, they have to move to an apartment or to a neighborhood they're not familiar with. So the community is disappearing, and there's no more community because they are moving to different places, and they don't want to move. So they are in their 70s and 80s, and they tell me, "Clara, I don't want to move, but I don't have the money to repair my house because the roof is falling apart and I need to move out, and I'm going to get a lot of money, but I will lose my community and my neighbors and the people who take care of me." So my project doesn't intend to be a critique about society. I understand that things need to evolve and change, but on the other hand, I would like for Miami to have an archive of what the city looked like for my grandchildren and for the people who, like me, who go to a public library and say, "I want to see photos of what the Miami that was built by the Caribbean diaspora looked like." And at this point, my project might be the only one, because I have tried in several places and there are no photos like this. And Miami has become more and more like a bunch of little houses that look like sugar cubes, right? Like white sugar cubes. They're white, they have no character, there is a lot of glass, a lot of tall buildings, but all the textures and the colors and all these beautiful things are disappearing really fast. So this is another neighborhood that I also wanted to document.
Yeah.
And this is the project that I did for Foto España, where I'm showing another place that will be gone. It's mostly gone. So after these projects, and I'm going to show you very quickly because it's not as important. My practice is all about Miami because I feel that at this point in my life, what I would like to do is create a big archive of what the city of Miami, all the iconography and the objects and the people look like, and eventually donate all my work to a museum or a college or someone that might want to have it for someone who wants to know what Miami looked like in the 60s and 70s and up until now when everything is being demolished. I have done other, I'm going to show you this one just because it's completely different, but it shows you a little bit about where my mind is at all times. Everywhere I travel, everywhere I go, I just want to show daily life, no matter where I'm at. And so I'm interested in the little things that people might not look at, but that I find very meaningful. I think that the small stories are the ones that tell us the most. And so I am very fortunate, and I have some very great people in my life that believe in me, and Rosie is one of them. Rosie has been my guardian angel, and there is this museum in Miami that needed to do a project about the stories of immigrants, and the director of the museum asked for someone, and Rosie recommended me, and that's how I got to do the project that I have been doing for the past year and a half, in which I have interviewed, no, I haven't not interviewed, I have photographed hundreds of people that are immigrants, and all these photos are now at the museum. I'm very happy to do this. This was a previous project that I did at an elderly home, because this is something that I'm also very interested in documenting the stories of people who might not be with us for a long time, or that have interesting stories to tell about migration. So this is an elderly home in Wynwood, and I went and I asked them if they wanted their portraits. A lot of times when I do these projects, it is a project that I do with the people I photograph. I go home, I print the photos, and I go back, and they received at least 1 or 2 or 3, 5 copies of, because I feel that I owe that to them. So these are photos that I made at a center for the elderly, and I gave these photos to them. The next step after this project was that I applied for a grant that I received, and with that money, I had to ask a lot of permits, the city of Miami and many people, and I printed the photos in foam, and I was allowed to put their photos around the fence of the park in their neighborhood. And that was a beautiful experience, because we had poster-sized photos, these photos printed in color, and the day of the opening, we got a food truck, and we invited the entire neighborhood. And people that had never seen each other, even within their neighborhood, they all gather around a celebration about them. Not about my photos, not about my project, but about them being celebrated. And I always try to make photos that are very dignifying. If they're not, I delete them or I destroy them, because my intention is to make very dignifying photos of everybody. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences I have had as a photographer. Being at a museum right now is very important for me as a photographer, and I'm very grateful for having that opportunity. But I can tell you that the joy that I felt the day that we opened at the park is as big as the joy that I felt the day the museum opened. Because being able to celebrate with all these people, and for them to feel important, and for them to tell their stories, for them to, as I was installing at the park, they will come out of their houses and they will call their children or the relatives and say, come to the park, my photo is in an exhibit, come see my photo. And it became a really beautiful experience about the power of a camera when you use it properly to celebrate and to honor people. So I think that, I don't know, I would like to believe that if I'm doing something important with my camera or something meaningful for my camera, it's just this. It's celebrating people like me that, I mean, we might not have done anything that is worth being in a newspaper, but we all have worked really hard. We all have done our part. We have raised families. We have taken care of parents. We have work. We have I don't know, painted a house, things that I think is, I don't know, what make a society work. So that's pretty much what I'm all about. If there are any other projects in here that you would like to see, I can share with you. But this is basically, in a nutshell, who I am and what I do. I can, let's see what I have in. Well, this is a neighborhood. I'm going to show you this because this is also very meaningful. This is a neighborhood in Medellin called Comuna 13, and is probably the most violent. I've been told that it has been the most violent neighborhood in all Latin America. There are big mass graves in that neighborhood because during all the violence in Colombia, the government between the government and the fights and everybody, there was a lot of dead people in this neighborhood. Until one day, a group of mothers from the neighborhood said, "No more. We're done with this. This has to be over." And they came out from their homes, very humble homes, with white flags. And they all talked and they said, "This has to be over. We cannot bury our children anymore," because a lot of teenagers were being killed. And they said, "We cannot keep doing this. We are not going to bury more children in our neighborhood." And they stopped it. And they really stopped it. And now it has become, actually now I happen to go, fortunately, before it became very touristy, because now it's a very touristy place. But what was really beautiful is that they decided to have playgrounds. You can see that it is a neighborhood with very little resources. But even with the little resources, they built playgrounds. And just look at this balcony. You see the musical notes. And I just love this. She's selling empanadas like a fried pastry on the streets, and it is just, it's just a place full of joy that came from a very, very dark place. So these guys now are the guides that walk the neighbors. The people around, they even speak English now, because a lot of Americans are now, so they have learned English. And look at this. "Mom, I'm fine." So it is, this project is something also that I'm very proud of, because I think that coming from Colombia, it's something that makes you resilient, because you have to be. And this is another project. So this is another series of photos that I'm very fond of, and that I'm very happy to have, because it also talks a lot about who I am and where I come from, and the reasons why I have chosen to spend my life telling stories like this. I guess I can close showing you Mexico, that I think is similar to what I grew up with. And now that I'm in Suriname, every day I have had the good luck of have the best guide, Kurt. Kurt has been showing me around, and every day we go to a different place, and we photograph, again, daily life. We have photographed temples. We have photographed people working on crafts. We have photographed twice elderly homes. And so in Suriname, I'm trying to do the same. I'm trying to tell simple but meaningful stories of this beautiful place.
Show us some of the photos you made here.
I'm sorry?
You can show us some of the photos you made here?
Some of the photos, these are all mine photos. These are all photos that I have made, but
She's asking if you're going to show the audience some of the photos you've made.
oh, in Suriname, I only have a few on Instagram, but I haven't. Oh, another thing that I have been doing is I'm giving myself the license to go back to photographing film, because that's how I learned to photograph. I'm 60, so when I learned to photograph, I photographed in film, and I always like the pace of the film because you don't see what's happening in that camera. You don't. You need to pace yourself, because with a digital camera you can make 200 photos and it doesn't matter. But with the film you have 24 or 36. So it has forced me to decide which frame I really want, and make a more conscious decision about what I want and be more paced and things like that. So most of the photos that I have made in Suriname are in film, and I hope they work really well. I have a digital camera here as well, and I want to share the joy of being here on Instagram. So every day I have like a journal where every day on Instagram I post a little story of what I photographed on that day. But I think the important project is in the film.
Because I like your compositions.
Thank you.
I'm curious to know what you have done with the Surinamese context.
When you know what when I finish, I can show you a few that I have on my phone, because I would like for you to tell me how you feel about it. I think that it is easy to make good photos in Suriname. It is easy to make good photos in Suriname. Yes, you have really beautiful people. The architecture is very interesting. It's very eclectic. And to me, it has turned it is like a puzzle, because the different styles and the iconography and the religious part of it, and it has been very interesting for me. And I like color. I like, and this place is full of colors. So I will show you later, and you can tell me if I have managed to accomplish that. This is basically who I am and what I have done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
I have a practical question.
Okay,
Ask
let
me.
me give you the mic.
A practical question. So, practical question is, you mentioned that you always ask your subjects for
Permission.
However, if you do street photography, you might miss the opportunity. So, do you take the picture first and then ask, or how does it work?
No. Thank you for asking that. That is a really good question, but I wouldn't like to be photographed without permission, and I feel that way. I feel that, and sometimes we're not at our best. So sometimes we're tired, sometimes we're sad. There are elderly people or young people who might not be in their mental capacities for some reason, for one reason or another, or intoxicated, things like that. So I never photograph people intoxicated. I never photograph children without the parents' permission. I never photograph. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I do not photograph. Is it upsetting sometimes? Yes. Sometimes there are photos that I feel like I wish I had that photo, but I feel that I need to be respectful of that, and I don't do it. Yesterday, to give you an example, yesterday we were at a place where there were a lot of beautiful, beautiful children. I mean, I wanted to photograph every single child, but the parents were not there to give me permission, so I didn't photograph any of them. And the people I photographed, when I was in doubt, I asked them, "Are you a minor?" And I always photograph adults, because I feel that, I don't know, I just feel that I won't sleep well knowing that I published a photo of someone that was not at their best or that didn't feel respected by me taking a photo. There is an important thing that I learned when I was in school, which is that you use an expression when you photograph, which is that you shoot. You go to photo shoots. And it is a strong statement, but it is the truth. When you have a camera, you have a lot of power because you are capturing images of people, and I feel that if I'm going to shoot, which is a word that I also don't like, at least I need to have some sort of agreement. And yes, there are lots of photos that I have, good photos that I have missed for that reason, but I know that every time I publish something, I feel that it's okay. They will be happy about it. And moreover, in the States, I also have to have release forms. So when I do a portrait, when I photograph Rosie for the museum, I had to have her signature authorizing me to photograph her. Otherwise, if I know that I will publish something, I don't publish anything without a release form, because I feel that it's part of my responsibility. But not everybody feels that way. I do, and I sleep well that way. But I think it's debatable. I don't know.
So no meta glasses for you.
No, I'm an old lady. I like the old-fashioned way.
I
And
have a question. Can you share with us some of your influences, photographers that have influenced your work?
yes,
One, two,
well, I love Stephen Shore,
okay.
and I love Eggleston, and I like who else do I like a lot? I like the photographers from the 70s. I like Eggleston in particular because for a long time black and white was the way to go, and color was something that was frowned upon because color was not very respectable, and Eggleston raised the level of color, and he photographs tricycles and empty streets and things like that. Everyday ordinary things. So
Are you familiar
yes.
with this work? Yeah. Some people are.
Yeah, I like Eggleston and I like Stephen Shore, and who else do I like? For portraits, well, I mean, for portraits, there's so many people. I like Zanelli Muholi. I like, I'm forgetting names.
Have you ever met Cindy Sherman, Deborah Willis?
Deborah Willis. You know what? Yes, I think that she's great. I like more simple things. I mean, her skills. I mean, and I'm very jealous of her 20 assistants and 200 lights. I mean, she's a master. Of course I like her. But I'm forgetting a very important Gordon Parks. I'm like, what's his name? Gordon Parks. Of course, Gordon Parks is incredibly touching and an incredibly
For me,
body of work.
Deborah Willis is important because she's someone who has focused on women and describes beauty, reflections of blackness, describes beauty in a really important way. I'm going to make a promise today. Deb, wherever you are, we're going to bring you to Suriname to speak to these artists and art lovers and collectors here because I think her work intersects at a really important conversation with our nations. And for me, I love this place. I'm from Jamaica and I love Jamaica. I feel very Jamaican when I'm in Suriname. There's a reason for the love. The ground makes me feel like I'm from Suriname. The struggle is the language, but I'll get over it.
But I love Jamaica.
I love Jamaica.
When I was in Jamaica, I feel like I was home.
And then we have Michael Edley, who's a photographer in Jamaica. We have, I am also going blank on the Caribbean influences of photographers that we have. Ronaldo studied at the College of Performing and Visual Arts in Jamaica, and so did Paul Nahar by Harry. And so this is how I came to love Suriname. I met them at school in Jamaica when they were studying as youngsters. They were full of They used to be young. They used to be young. And that's how I fell in love with them. Any more questions? Before you leave, there's this place is so hospitable. We have refreshments in back for you before you go.
Yeah, but
And
I
the
think,
exposition of
I was gonna say that at the end, but go ahead.
I think and I know that Colombia will be guy.
Yes.
Suriname. It's a great area. I hope you want to
I'm here more than last year.
and we met also. Most of them are great artists that came over here and share their experience.
Thank you, Anand.
Thank you.
Thank you.